Let me know when you're ready to depart for Rabanasta. We will travel on our airship. The Prima Vista would draw too much unwanted attention. Back to a life of brigandry in the clouds, are we? Of course not. Not that it didn't cross our minds, but when faced with the decision of what to do next, we need simply to be remembered by the dying words of our leader. Gijuk, Renok and I decided to re-enlist as Dalmascan Fusiliers. And the occupying Gallians actually said yes, Kupo? Not exactly. We are now with the Resistance. No doubt you heard of the uprising in Dalmasca that followed the Dorman liberation, and how it was crushed under the iron heel of the 4th Legion? The Resistance leaders were captured, tortured, and publicly executed. Yet much to the Empire's chagrin, the gruesome display only served to further rally the survivors. Remove one head and 2 grow back in its place. Remove 2 when there are 4. A person can die, but an ideal will live on. Now there exist several factions throughout Dalmasca. We belong to one known as Tiers. And when we are told our commanding officer of our recent crossing with you and yours, she simply insisted that we introduce you. Me? I wasn't even supposed to be here, Kupo. Not you, hairball. Her! Meet with a general and hear a proposal, Serenia. If you're not interested, we shall return you to Kurgana unharmed. You have our... Huh? Got your tongue? Rabanasta dead ahead, lads. This way. We have many mounds to cover before nightfall. I've done as you ask. I bring you the Liberator. And here I thought she'd be taller. Hey, I'm an Aura, female. Hello, Fran. I knew it, Viera. I'm Fran, proud daughter of Dalmasca and General of Tiers. She really looks exactly like Fran in Final Fantasy XII. And yes, Moogle, I am a Viera. Are you surprised? Why, yes, in fact I am. Your kind are all supposed to be living among the trees, having shunned contact with the outer world, Kupo. There's supposedly a few who have left their homes, but I most certainly did not expect to see one here in this Viera. Indeed. This Banger claims to seek Orbonne. Does he speak true? Those ruins lie deep within the Golmore Jungle, a place most sacred to my sisters. They would take great offense were you to defile it with your presence. What is more, Bwagi tells me you travel with Guardians, openly aiding those who see our nation burn. How can we place our trust in one who would do such? My blade has tasted the blood of too many Guardians to count. And when you know the Empire and its peoples are one and the same, when you slay an Imperial soldier, you're not slaying an individual, you're slaying the enemy. Your companions, Liberator, are the enemy despite their supposed change of heart. You misunderstand. Kind Genomics does not approve of the Emperor's warmongering. He wants to help Dalmascan and its impoverished masses, Kupo. And what would a Moogle know about my people? Does your blood run Dalmascan red? We could cut you open and find out. General, there's no need for threats. You're right, Bwagi. Let us then parley. Parley? Parley. First, the Resistance requires men and women from Doma and the Eorzean Alliance to join us in ridding Dalmasca of its imperial invaders. Your past deeds have made you well known to the leaders of both. They will listen to you, and if not, they will listen to the science to which you claim allegiance. Second, the Resistance requires gold. Gold to strengthen our forces from within. Your allies are in bed with the East Islander Trading Company, which continues its dealings with Garlemald even as you raise your sword against them, profiting from the Empire's rampant aggression. As targets of that aggression, I believe my people are entitled to a portion of those profits. Grant me these simple things and I shall personally guide you safely to the ruins of Orbonne. And what of Alex's tales? See me to victory, and I take the Emperor himself. Those are my conditions. What say you? I deliver your request to the Science, but can promise no more. Tell them my demands, but know the fate of the expedition hangs on how well you do so. I'd say we have our work cut out for us, Kupo. Bwagi, you and the Fusiliers are to accompany the Liberator. I expect a detailed report on how my demands are received. Yes, General. Not that I expect them to be taken seriously. You are a fool to trust them, Princess. I finally come to accept Bagamnan is gone for good, and I will never forget how we met his end. I cannot allow my hatred to consume me as it did him. The General is not too bad once you're on her good side. Her only good side being her backside, but you didn't hear me say that. Okay? What an adventure, Kubu. Just think, by tomorrow we could all be the newest members of the Dalmascan Resistance. Not that I'm ready to give up my place in Prima Vista just yet. And this apparently continues with Mont Blanc. Hurry, hurry! If I don't tell someone of our adventure quick, I'm positively burst, Kupo! There's no question that Ivalice once stood atop the lands we now call Dalmasca. With the passage of time that have remains of those eras past faded beyond recognition. If only the great library of Urbanast was restored. My knowledge is limited, but if there's aught you wish to ask... What does Ramsa use to our side? While the leader waged his war for all to see, Ramsa remained hidden, choosing to deal with the Lucavi from the shadows. The tiny fellowship was not hunting the horrors spawned by the holy stones. They were hounded by knights and brigands set upon them by the church. Yet despite this, Ramsa often found his thoughts returning to his old friend, the leader. Now an intelligence of the Order of the Southern Sky, the leader had also not forgotten about his childhood companion, learning of both Ramsa's troubles and the church's scheming soon after joining the Order. He could not, however, come to Beoulf's aid. Harold had proven himself a capable warrior and a charismatic leader and was using this momentum to silently orchestrate a play for Ivalice's throne. If he were to openly oppose the church, it would prove disastrous. Ramsa, though, had already been branded a heretic. Through Ramsa, the leader might freely raise his sword against the church without consequence to himself as long as their allegiance remained unknown. Now, one might view this as a future king simply using his own companion to see his own desires to fruition, while even Owen himself opines on the matter in his papers. However, both the leader and Ramsa were quick to recognize that as long as the blight engendered by the oversight was allowed to spread unchecked, the true peace could never be realized. Their solution was ingenious. The leader took his place on the field of battle to bring an end to the War of Alliance, while Ramsa took to the shadows to exercise the otherworldly cankers that befouled the realm from within. Interesting. Oh well, you can look at in your own playthrough if you want details. Have you been in Rabanastre with Mont Blanc? Why didn't you tell me? How am I supposed to report on something if I'm not there to see it? Though this woman asks much of us. The Viera have ever been wary of outsiders. For centuries there were many tribes that remained hidden in the jungles, content with their self-imposed solitude. Each tribe has its own strict code and will mete swift punishment to any who would defy these laws. As such, many a Viera who spent her entire life bound to the territory of their ancestors, both unwilling and unable to venture beyond its borders. And while the tribes are wholly independent, they have agreed to uphold a single standard. Shun all contact with the outside world unless it's to protect the jungle. That said, with every generation there are those Viera who long for a life beyond the verdant sea of trees and abandon their tribes to start a new life in the kingdom's cities. My guess is that this Fran is one such individual. Who also happens to be the only individual we know who can guide us to the monastery, Kupo. It seems the Serenia's sword arm won't be enough to see us through this predicament. She'll need to don the right mantle of a diplomat if we are to convince the Alliance and the East Alna Trading Company to grant us aid. What could go wrong? What? Yes, I know you said not to call unless it was urgent, but it is urgent. Alright, not exactly, but my superiors have come to a decision on your request, and I thought you might want to hear what they have to say. Oh, and let me preempt any request for immediate disclosure with a reminder that the information is much too sensitive to discuss over link pearl. Meet me at the Ruby Bazaar post-haste, and I shall duly apprise you of their judgment. Then, Serenia, what are we waiting for? Okay. This looks like Bahamut when you strip the color from him and just have a model, yeah? And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what that is. As a decoration for the theater. I've read about how you united the whole of Eorzea under a single standard and convinced the Holy See to end a 1000-year conflict. Compared to that, asking for a few soldiers a coffer of free of gil should be a piece of Rollenberry cake. I suppose we should inform Bwagi down at Kugane Landing of our progress. You mentioned he was to keep an eye on us. So, you have an answer from East Aldenat already? Impressive. It would seem Lady Fran has underestimated your influence among the realm's players. I assume you have no objection to me joining you then? If that is a positive answer, I can't tell. Hancock awaits us in the bazaar, shall we, Serenia? A lovely lady and a banga? And I was expecting you would be alone, Serenia. But, excuse my manners. I'm Hancock, representative of the East Aldenat Trading Company assigned to oversee her assets here in Kugane. It is a pleasure to meet you. Yugiri? And I'm Yugiri. We apologize for making you come all this way. Not that it's far from the landing to Bwagi, was it? I serve Lord Hien, rightful ruler of Doma. I've come bearing my lord's reply to your entreaty. And I'm Tatau Taru of the Science of the Seventh Dawn. I'm only here seeing as no one else could be bothered. Well, that and to bear a message from the leaders of the Eorzea Alliance. Thank you for both coming. I'm Bwagi, formerly of the Dalmascan Royal Fusiliers. I now claim allegiance to Lantis Tiers, a resistance group seeking to accomplish what you have in Doma and Alamigo. What tidings have you brought us? Allow me to begin with. While the East Aldenat Trading Company sympathizes with your plight, we are not in a position to grant you the funding you seek. As you are aware, the East Aldenat Trading Company prides itself in its neutrality, be it in matters political or personal. And what of our relationship with the Eorzea Alliance? Ah yes, what I meant to say was, here in Hingashi, the East Aldenat Trading Company prides itself in its neutrality, be it in matters political and you must understand our position. Simply supplying coin to any one group would make it appear that we somehow favor that group over another. Seeing as we conduct business openly and fairly with everyone, doing such would be sending the wrong message and ultimately harm profits, yes? And by selling to both sides, you can maximize profits where good men and women perish. How convenient. We are a business, milady. We do what we must to survive. That does not mean, however, we are blind to the needs of our customers or our allies, which is why we support the Eorzean Alliance and their noble efforts to safeguard their realm's freedom through a mutually beneficial arrangement. If it were my choice, I would provide your little resistance with all the funding it needs, but as my good friend Serenia knows all too well, it is not my choice. Well, now that Hank has thoroughly lowered your spirits, you won't be as crestfallen that I inform you the Eorzean Alliance will also be unable to provide any assistance. And let me guess, you did everything in your power to try and convince the leaders of each city-state, only to watch as they politely declined our proposal, claiming an unfortunate lack of intelligence or resources. Wait, how did you... Nortian sends his greetings to you and yours, and under normal circumstances would welcome allies still suffering under imperial yoke. However, word has it that the latest attempt of reclaiming your kingdom ended in failure, resulting in the loss of countless lives, including many of the Resistance's leaders. You are not mistaken. Our army is not what it once was. Those remaining have been forced to take refuge deep beneath the streets of Rabanastre. The 4th Legion has already defeated you once. Lacking unity and leadership, the current resistance will not survive another tilt against the Empire's disciplined ranks. If Dorma is to join hands with Dalmasca as an ally, you must first prove to us that you will stand as one. Dorma as a full-fledged ally would serve better to strengthen our cause than a few temporary soldiers. Yet, even if we were able to wrest Dalmasca from the Empire's grasp, without unity among your people, the resulting chaos would prove even more perilous to the kingdom. You understand much of our situation. And based on that understanding, you would refuse your aid to Lantis Tears, am I correct? Do not mistake me. Lord Hian's refusal is but a message. A message to help you plan your next step. You have a wise master. He understands that without proper planning, driving one enemy from your midst simply creates room for the next. Lady Fran will no doubt be pleased to hear that your response was exactly what she expected. You knew this whole time that your demands would be rejected, yet you still let it fast play out? You have my apologies, but this was all necessary to prove an important point to our leader. Lady Fran needed to show the princess just exactly what she was getting herself into, and your honesty today will serve us better than any hollow promise. Thank you. Princess? Wait, what about the Golmore Jungle? Can you believe this?
We're right back to where we started. Principal Genomist will not be pleased.